I had a purpose before everybody had an opinion.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out.
You want Philly?
Chase Utley, you are the man.
You come out backyard and you try to start something, you always get your butt kicked.
The prayers have been answered.
How about those Eagles, baby?
And Rio Muto can run for days.
Can you feel what's about to happen on this field, man?
A perfect game. Roy Halladay has thrown the second perfect game in Philadelphia Phillies history.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Philly Talk. I know I'm a bit late with this one coming out, but I wasn't feeling too great in the morning. As you could probably still hear, I am not feeling that great, but I love to put these videos always out on Tuesday. I didn't really want to wait a day, and plus there's just so much to talk about, but we likely won't go for too long because of obviously my voice. But very just annoyed, there was like nothing good from this game. It was like you started off, 21-6 like in the first half, and then you just let the Cardinals come back into this game, and it was just embarrassing performance on all cylinders, really. Like it just doesn't make sense what this team is doing a lot of the times, especially these, like during this final stretch, really. Like ever since that Bills game, really, like we've just had no clue who this team is, and it's just really confusing to watch them. We saw Sidney Brown, you gotta shout it out. He got that crazy, like, I don't know, I think they have it as 99 yards, but looking at the play, I don't know where he caught it. It doesn't really look like 99 yards to me, but I'm not going to be one to discredit the man. I think it's his first pick of his career, I believe, and the fact that it goes 99 yards, to the house, pretty crazy. Jalen Carter had a sack, continuing his rookie season, looking great. But other than that, not looking too good anywhere else, really. I know you'll look at a lot of the different stats and be like, oh, look at, Nicholas Morrow, Reed Blankenship, Kevin Byard have like a lot of tackles. That must be really good. Well, not really, because if you're watching the play, why are they getting most of the tackles? Because they're the ones being targeted the most, especially Nicholas Morrow up there in the middle, at the linebacker spot. Offense, I mean, you can't even really blame the offense too much. Like Jalen Hurts, 167 yards, 3 touchdowns and an interception. A.J. Brown, 53 yards. Dallas Goedert, 47. Julio Jones had 34 yards with 2 touchdowns. Devontae Smith had 30. DeAndre Swift had 61 yards. Jalen had 25 rushing on the day. But there's not much you can really do when you're looking at, time of possession, and the Cardinals literally had the ball for almost 20 minutes more than we did, and that's just something you cannot allow to happen, especially with how bad this defense has been playing. You cannot allow the offense to be off the field that much. But overall, it's just a real disappointing loss, and at the end of the day, it comes down to the coaching. I know, the one thing that has annoyed me throughout this season is the Philadelphia media. See, the thing that really annoys me with the Philadelphia media is that they've lost the plot, in a sense. They've forgotten their roots. They've forgotten essentially, who they are. It's not to say that you can't criticize a team when they're playing bad or playing good, and give, this like criticism of certain things, but the thing that the reason I say they've lost the plot is because it's like they're not fans of Philadelphia, and they're not fans of these teams. All they really care about is getting their clicks and views and getting their narratives out, this and that. They're not the fans, and so that's just one thing I hope that the players are able to know and differentiate, the media doesn't represent us fans, you know. I know a lot of times us fans can be tough on them, but, you know, a lot of, especially a lot of players who come to play in Philly, they understand it's just because we cared that much about winning, you know, and all that. But these media, you know, I hope they realize that they're not us. They don't speak for us. And the reason I bring that up is because it is absolutely baffling to me, and it absolutely angers me how much the Philadelphia media is trying to scapegoat guys like A.J. Brown. You know, they're trying to make him out to be this diva wide receiver, you know, trying to make it seem like Terrell Owens 2.0 over here, when all it is simply A.J. Brown knows his worth. He knows what he can contribute, and he just wants better, you know. He doesn't want to cause drama, which is why he isn't talking to the media, especially because he knows that the media will just take his words and run some type of narrative out of it and twist his words. But, you know, he just wants better for this team. There's no reason his longest catch on the day should be 18 yards. I just don't understand, you know, the coaching decisions that are made when it's like, we went through years of suffering without a true number one. You know, ever since we lost to Sean Jackson, we were for years without a true number one. We had Alshon Jeffrey for like 2 years really before he fell off, you know. What else did we have? Jordan Matthews, Greg Ward, Deontay Burnett. You remember when we traded for Golden Tate to try and help us out? Jalen Reagor just a couple seasons ago, Nelson Aguilar, you know, it's not to rag on these guys, but like that's the wide receiver cores we were working with. And now we finally have two great wide receivers in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and you don't want to utilize either of them. And I know a lot of people will bring up the stats and be like, oh, look, they both went over 1,000 yards. Yeah, they should be like Tyreek and close to freaking 2,000 yards, especially A.J. Brown, you know, if you utilize him the way you were doing previously in the season. But now they want to cool off on him, and I get it. Sometimes defenses will adjust, but like I said, you watch the actual games, you look at the play calling, there's a reason he isn't going off for 125 yards these games, and that's because they're not utilizing him, you know. I will not put the blame on A.J. Brown for this. I will not let the media try and, you know, make this seem like A.J. Brown is the issue with this team. Like Jalen Hurts is the issue with the team. Yeah, has Jalen had, you know, turnover issues this season, especially compared to last year? Yeah, he's definitely had his issues. But look at a game like this where anytime he was on that field, he was doing his best to help. And it's not his fault that his coaches are incompetent. It's not his fault that his head coach and his offensive coordinator don't know what to do with the talent that they have on this team. It's just baffling that you have a 1st and 20 and you run 2 back-to-back quarterback draws because, oh, we're trying to give them the unexpected. We're trying to surprise them. It's a 1st and 20. It's a 2nd and 20. What are you doing? This isn't some type of advanced chess move. You're just being plain stupid to run 2 back-to-back quarterback draws and then do a wide receiver screen on the 3rd play that results in Devontae Smith getting injured. You all saw the photos of him on crutches in a walking boot after the game. If Smithy's done for the season, which I don't want to try and over-exaggerate, but, you know, if he's done for the season, what a stupid play for him to go down on. Because you look at a 3rd and long situation and you say, you know what this needs? I don't even think it was a wide receiver screen. It was a screen to Kenneth Gainwell of all people. You know, I was surprised it wasn't Julio Jones the way they try and always do wide receiver screens with him. But it's like, that's the play that Devontae Smith gets injured on. It's absolutely baffling. We've been speaking on this game after game this season about how terrible Brian Johnson has been. It doesn't matter whether it's Sean Desai or Matt Patricia, that defense is still terrible and not utilizing these players good. I know a lot of these players are struggling, you know, Brandon Graham's been struggling a bit, but that's what happens with age. A lot of people have been looking at Kevin Byard because the stats don't jump off the board, but it's like, you want to understand why they aren't doing good? Again, it's the coordinators. It's the scheme that they're running. On one of the plays, they drop back Hassan Reddick and Brandon Graham into coverage. Hassan Reddick and Brandon Graham. Hassan Reddick, the guy who was leading your team in sacks last season, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure he's leading them this season too. You want to drop back Hassan Reddick into coverage. What is wrong with you? What is even going through your mind to make such a decision? He has 11 sacks on the season, and your thought is to drop him back into coverage. I just have no words for the defensive scheming, the offensive scheming, and it all comes down to Sirianni because these are his schemes. These are the coaches that him, or the offensive coordinators that, or not the offense, the coordinators that him and the team have selected, and it's baffling. It's shown that Brian Johnson is not ready to be an offensive coordinator at this level. It doesn't matter whether it's Sean Desai or Matt Patricia. This defense is just not utilizing their players the best. I mean, at least under Sean Desai, we at least saw some, performances where they came through, like the Miami game, like the Chiefs game. But it's the coaching, You want to try and make a scapegoat out of anyone, it's the coaching. You're not going to try and put this on the players. The players have been trying their best, but talent at some point can't overtake schemes and all that. It's like, if they're not being put in the positions to best succeed, how can you expect their talent to show out? If you're dropping Hassan Reddick into coverage instead of doing what he does best, and that is coming off that edge and creating pressure, I don't know what to say. Jordan Davis is supposed to be, our run stopper, helping us out with the run stop. But again, he can't do much when he doesn't have the linebacking support back there, because we keep getting all these injuries, but also because the Eagles have never prioritized the linebacker spot pretty much ever. Like, you look at all the different times that they've had a linebacker, just look at last season. I brought it up a couple of weeks ago on Philly Talk. You had TJ Edwards, you had Kaiser White, and you let both of them walk, and yes, both kind of walked for reasons out of your control, but it's like, you could have done something, you could have done something. You could have traded for a linebacker, I think if I remember correctly, I was saying that linebacker might have been a position of need more than safety, but really both of those should have just been addressed. They spent the draft pick, they let Nakobe Dean fall to them, but injury, availability is the best ability, and he doesn't have it so far, which hurts, because I really want the guy to succeed and all that. I want him to do good, but he's got to get better at being available for us. And overall, it's just looking at stuff like that and just wanting better, like I said, from the team. But at the end of the day, it comes down to coaching more than anything to put these guys in the best position, and they're just not doing it. Personally, I know I said it in the last episode, but personally, I don't think Sirianni really goes after this season. Like, it would have to take a really bad loss in the wild card, more than likely, for them to even consider getting rid of Sirianni. But I think they give him one more year, more than likely, and put him on the hot seat that entire season. But I think there's definitely going to be a huge overhaul in the coaching all around. Like, Jeff Stoutland obviously will stay as offensive line coach, because that guy is great with the offensive linemen. But like, Brian Johnson's probably out of there. They may get a new quarterback coach to try and work with Jalen better. Defensively, obviously, you're going to see a whole lot change. Or at least I very much hope, Desai and Patricia likely getting out, whoever our DB coach is likely getting out, whoever our linebacker coach is likely getting out, but at the same time, it also goes back to the front office of Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie, and it's that mindset to think, trying to be the smartest guy in the room will get value in the third and fourth round, and it's like, how many more years can we do this before you kind of realize you can't just wait to those later rounds to try and get value at key positions? You need to spend first round, second round draft picks on linebackers, on cornerbacks, on safeties. The offense is pretty much set. Use the next couple of drafts to try and get yourself some good stuff at those positions. The only thing you really need to worry about maybe is obviously offensive line depth, but that's the one position that Philly can really do that sort of late round type of value for, because like I said, they have Jeff Stoutland, who's a great coach. he's a great coach that can pretty much work with anyone and turn them, into a really good lineman in the league. I mean, come on, we've seen the work he's done with Jordan Mailata, who's a former rugby player. He can pretty much take any of those late round guys and shape them up to be pretty good. But yeah, you got to start spending premium on these positions. And man, I know I said not to blame the talent, but like, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some overhauls on the defensive side talent-wise. I mean, James Bradbury, man, maybe we give him one more shot next year because it's scheming issues. Maybe we put the full blame on coaching and give him one more shot, but he hasn't looked the greatest. We'll obviously see what Slade looks like coming back from that injury he had. Certain defensive line guys, corners, safeties, Avonte Maddox came back too soon from injury to try and help this team out, and he didn't look that great out there, so it'll be interesting to see what they do. And I just want them to be better, man, but I don't want to make it seem like I'm out on this team, but like, I just can't see much change happening. Like, you keep seeing the players especially talking about, this is a learning experience, we got to get better, we got to do this and that. It's like, how many times can we hear that before you guys actually start doing that? And again, it obviously comes down to the coaching as well, but it's just like, you just hear them talking over and over, the players, the coaches, and you're just like, how much learning do you need to do? We're in the final week of the NFL, and you guys don't look like a playoff team. You may have made the playoffs, but you don't look like a team that's going to perform very well going against certain other teams in the playoffs. We're not even the division leader anymore. We're all the way at the 5 seed at this point, and it's just baffling what's going on with this team. And it's even sadder. I know, hopefully, I've talked all that about Aaron Nola's last game as a Philly just for him to resign. I saw a lot of people saying, this could have potentially been the last game at the Link for a lot of different players, like Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Jason Kelsey. We don't know what's going to happen with a lot of those players, but like, man, talk about a real sour way to go out, if that's the final game at the Link for a lot of those guys. As of right now, I think, they're going to end up playing a division leader, I think, in the playoffs either way. So I don't even think, I don't think there's at any point they're going to get some type of home game, but hopefully things are different. But yeah, looking at that playoff picture, man, like I said, we are in the 5th spot at this point, and just really disappointing. It's really disappointing that that's the sort of outcome of this season. It feels like a year was wasted of everyone's talent, of Jalen Hurts, of the offensive line, of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, DeAndre Swift. The guy got 1,000 yards, and it feels like he should have way more, but this team doesn't utilize him until garbage time. There's just so much to say, but it's just like, at this point, you can't do much. Like I said, all you just gotta hope is for change and for this team to realize the error of their ways. But it should be a win against the Giants, and we'll see where we go from there.